Now, it's a pleasure to have you back, Colin, to continue our conversation on the G20 Leaders Summit and more the state of global governance generally today. So, as we had mentioned in the previous segment, you were there at the creation of the G20, the G20 Leaders Summit, and indeed you continue as a non-resident senior fellow here at the Brookings Institution. Now, I want to start this segment, Colin, by asking whether you believe that, you've seen these G20 Leaders Summits starting in 2008, continuing to the present day. So the question is, do you think that these G20 Leaders Summits have fulfilled the mandate you foresaw and others foresaw for the Leaders Summit at the time back in the 2000s, early 2000s? And if not, what do you think might be done?
Yeah, I think the answer to the question of how the summits have done is different than how the whole G20 process has been done. So as everyone knows, as the G20 summits came out of the G20 finance ministers grouping, which was put in place during the Asia financial crisis in 1998. So it had been in existence 10 years before it was transferred up to being upgraded to adding a layer of leaders level summits to the already existing ministerial level meetings. So the important part of this process becomes not only the engagement groups associated with it, but also the fact that there are other ministerial groups that take place. There are lots of lower level meetings among officials who are just below ministers, for certainly finance ministers, central bank staff, and employment ministers sometimes health ministers. There's actually been on occasion foreign affairs ministers meetings. So that what you have built here is a through time annual process of interaction, information sharing, and consultation among senior officials from these large, important, significantly important countries and systemically important countries. And so there's more than meets the eye to this. There's more than summitry involved. There is a set of officials that just imagine a financial crisis happening. The people in the finance ministries and treasuries of this world know each other, know each other's phone numbers, have each other's emails, and in fact, in an instant can be in touch with each other to sort of say, hey, what do you think we should do about this? And I think that's a very big part of it. And I think the summits have varied. There's been some leaders level summits which have been better than others, for sure. The composition of the players, except for Angela Merkel, have changed dramatically over the years. And sometimes there's a cluster of leaders that you can identify who would actually, you could conceive how they could easily work together towards certain ends. And there are other years when you look around the table and you think, uh-oh, I see those two guys who might agree on this and these three people who might agree on that, but I don't see 6 or 8 people who are willing to move something significant. So, you've had to deal with this changing political dynamic in which there are different people there and different politics behind them, maybe more importantly, and that, some years you can move you can move issues and some years you can't.
If the G20 summit was supposed to promote collaborative action to deal with the daunting problems of globalization, does it make sense that we continue to focus on this institution, the Leaders G20 Summit, when you've seen the rise of all the effort and all the concerns of geopolitics today? There's been the rise of nationalist politics in many of these G20 countries. And, let's not leave out, most importantly, of course, in the rise of nationalist politics, the rise of Donald Trump in the United States and the promotion of America First.
No, I think to the contrary. I mean, I think the more geopolitical tension there is, the more useful or more necessary it is that once a year people are forced to go in the same room with each other into several rooms and several meals and several formal and informal occasions in which they're just in the same place and stuff needs to get done. And I don't think, I've always said about, this is one reason why I thought the G7, G8 thing was obsolete, was I've always said you want to be in the room with the people you disagree with the most rather than in the room with the people you agree with more often. Because the like-mindedness is useful on some things, but it implies that there are other people in the world who don't agree with your like-mindedness. And you know, if you have a global governance mechanism, you're meant to do it, as we've been discussing, for the whole world. And so you really need to have the countries that you're most different from in the room rather than the people with whom you have the greatest comfort. I mean, getting the Americans and the Canadians and the British together is a bit beside the point. When you've got China left out, when you've got Brazil left out, you've got India left out, you have Russia left out, you have Turkey left out, you have South Africa left out. I mean, you know, there you're talking about countries that come from very different historical origins and paths and patterns and who have different perspectives on things. And you need to, if you're really serious about addressing global challenges in a globally sensitive way, you've got to make sure that you've heard from varying points of view to put together a composite decision that makes good for the whole world rather than comes out of a singular cultural vein.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.